Got a call from an agent the other day who told me that he was in the process of listing an estate sale. An elderly gentleman that owned the home passed away. Family wanted to dispose of the house. Should be straightforward enough, except for one little wrinkle. And that was prior to his passing, the father had added the daughter on title to the property. So the first thing you have to find out is, how was the daughter added? Was it joint tenancy or was it tenancy in common? Makes a great deal of difference. Don't forget, joint tenancy has right of survivorship. So if the daughter was added as a joint tenant, then the moment the father passes away, the title of the property is solely in the daughter's name. So as a real estate agent, the first thing you want to do is you want to check and make sure, in fact, that both names are on title. That's how it's registered. The second thing you want to do is you want to get a death certificate and make sure that the gentleman on title has passed away. With elder abuse and all kinds of fraud and so on, if he was in a nursing home or with Alzheimer's or something, the daughter wanted to get her hands on the money early, she could report that the father had died, the house was now in her name, she could sell it, but she doesn't have the right to it because he's still on title. But providing that he has passed away, providing that the property has, therefore, under joint tenancy, gone solely into her name, she can list it, put it on the market for sale, and it doesn't involve the estate, whatever. You don't have to check with the will, you don't have to do anything. You just identify the daughter for FINTRAC purposes, and you go ahead and list the property. But what happens if it's tenancy in common? That complicates things, because now the property is held in the name of the daughter and the name of the estate. So it could be John and Jane Doe. So now it's Jane Doe and the estate of John Doe. So again, check the title, see if it shows the two names, Jane and John Doe, on title. Find out how the title's held, joint tenancy or tenancy in common. If it's tenancy in common, check on the death certificate, make sure the person has passed away. And now you got to look at the will. There's a couple of reasons you have to look at the will. First of all, you got to find out who the executor or the executrix is, who has signing authority. But the other thing you got to check on the will is there any mention in the will of this property? See, if the property is being willed to some individual, then you can't list it for sale. And if it's, I should have mentioned before, if the will says that it's being willed to somebody, but it was joint tenancy, it doesn't matter. You don't need to look at the will. It doesn't matter whether the will made disposition a part of the property, because it can't, because it never owns it. It never goes into the estate. But assuming it's in the estate, and check the will and make sure that it's not dealing with that property. Find out who the executor is. It's helpful if the executor is the daughter, but it doesn't have to be. Now you're in a position where you can list the property for sale. And in the property, if you need to identify the executor or the executrix, in this case, list the property, and you would list the property as Jane Doe and the estate of John Doe. And under the estate of John Doe, you would have the person sign it who's the executor, and they would print under their signature, and they sign their signature, not the father's, and underneath they'd print their name, and they'd say executor or executrix for the estate of John Doe. Then you have to find out where we are in the process. Has the will been probated, or as they call it, certificate of appointment of estate trustee? If that hasn't been done, then you have to mention that on the listing and allow time or put in an offer conditional on probate or conditional on the appointment certificate of a state trustee. Hope that all makes sense. Be very careful about this. There's some pitfalls here, but you'll be able to get through it all right. Thank you very much for watching this video. Talk to you again next week.